This program is brought to you by Emory University.
Hi, I'm Kate, and today I'm going to walk with you on a tour of Lullwater. As an intern with Emory's Office of Sustainability Initiatives, Emory's Place, I have a stake in this place at Emory. As Emory's Place, we believe that in order to develop a stake in a place, you have to go out and experience the place. So join me now as we take a tour of Lullwater. We just entered Lullwater from Emory's gates off of Clifton Road, and now we will be continuing on our way. A lot of this ivy that we see in Lullwater was planted here by landscaping crews of the early Candler family, but now it's kind of overgrown and reached massive proportions. Along here, the ivy is actually helping to keep back the soil on the steep embankment. But in other places, it just seems to start trailing up trees and is actually an invasive. It's not native to Emory or the Piedmont and southern region. So it could potentially, and does, harm trees by blocking out sunlight and preventing new growth from trees in the forest. And Emory does have an initiative to start removing some of these invasive non-native plants, but we're slow going. If you want to volunteer, sign up. We can use help. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is a magnolia tree, or at least in the magnolia family, and it is actually native to this area. And it doesn't really look native because when you think of the South and magnolias in the South, you think of those big, kind of round, cone-shaped magnolia trees. But those are more common and native to the coastal areas of Georgia and the Southeast. So this is really our magnolia, and it looks a little more prehistoric than you'd think. But the stream bed behind me is Richardson Creek, and this is named for Ernest Richardson, who was the caretaker of Lullwater, I believe from 1926 to 1962. And this creek is the only creek on campus named for an African American man. And his dedication and loving work at Lullwater is now memorialized by this creek. So in Lullwater, we have a lot of trails and grassy areas open for recreation. We have a big field that is used for impromptu soccer games or frisbee games. We have a big hill that's used for sledding on the rare chance that it snows in Atlanta. But we also hold several events here every year. We have the Lullwater Day Picnic. Other people have fun runs and do like 5K or shorter or longer runs throughout the park. Within the park is the home of our president of our university, President James Wagner. He lives here with his wife, and that is within the Lullwater house, which we'll see in a little while. So Lullwater has a rich history that is defined by the place, and the history is also defined by the environment. This area was first inhabited by Creek Indians and then by Europeans who began to settle here in the 1820s. This land was mostly rural farmland until the 1900s. The early European settlers owned and operated mills along Peachtree Creek, which we will see later, and these mills are now remembered in the names of Houston Mill Road and Mason Mill Road. In 1923, Asa Candler's son, Walter Candler, acquired 185 acres of land spanning both sides of Peachtree Creek. And on this land, Walter raised chicken, cattle, hogs, even racehorses. He had his racehorsing track now where the VA hospital stands. So in the 1950s, Walter Candler sold Lullwater and what is also now called the Claremont campus to Emory University. And since 1958, Lullwater Estate has been home to Emory's president, a place for our recreation and events, and also a site for some school projects or experimentations, I guess you could say. In 1958, one research study that was done was putting radioactive material in the ground, kind of a little bit farther away from here, but still within Lullwater, and to study the radioactive effects of native plants, like what would happen to the plants when this radioactive material interacted with them. The radioactive material was removed and the area was cleaned properly. So with Atlanta and Georgia's drought for about the past 3 years now, maybe longer, the water levels in Candler Lake have definitely decreased. And this has exposed the little bridgeway to our island. It actually did used to be an island. And on this island, I believe it was in 1966, 3 biology professors decided that they were going to put some macaque monkeys on the island. They believed it reminded the monkeys of their native habitat. And they thought that maybe they'd rather live outside instead of in their lab or something. And that worked well for maybe a week or so when they discovered that the monkeys could swim and get off the island, so they moved them. So all of Lullwater Park is surrounded by roads and or residential areas. So although we would like to think of Emory's Lullwater as being pristine, it actually has a lot of runoff and negative influences from its surrounding area. It's not really its own little section. There are definitely permeable borders around it. So we get a lot of runoff off of the roads, fertilizers from lawns nearby, the oil and gasoline off of the roads as well. And then we also get soil erosion from the hills when there are heavy rains, and those pour, the soil pours into the bottom of the lake, and then we have to dredge the lake every now and then and try and get some of that back out to allow the growth of the wildlife and marine life in there. So we're going to stop here and look at Claremont Tower across the lake here, and that is the tower at Claremont campus. It is for undergraduate residential housing. But when Emory acquired Claremont campus, it built undergraduate and some graduate housing, as well as a student activities center with an Olympic-sized pool and another activity field. These are part of the retaining walls that keep the lake back that Walter Candler had built to form his lake. And on this lake he had boating parties and I would presume fishing parties too. Well, right now we have a lot of water coming over the dam, and that's probably a good sign, especially for being in droughts. Recently we've had a lot of rain, but also when there's heavy rain, as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of the soil erosion that comes through. So when all of the runoff comes from the parking lots from the VA hospital and Claremont campus and the roads surrounding, and they pour into the creek, they flood this dam and rush down the stream, taking out a lot of the stream banks on the sides. So soil erosion is definitely a problem. We are now standing next to Peachtree Creek. This is actually the south fork of Peachtree Creek, and it runs to the north about 7 miles to meet up with the North Fork, and it continues about 8 miles this way and it drains into the Chattahoochee River system. And this was originally the water source that attracted the Creek Indians to live in this area, and then it was again used by the European settlers for their mills and also drinking water and electricity, as mentioned, for Walter Candler used for the house. Even more of a problem when the stream runs, they can also have sewage overflows from various other pipes around Atlanta that then dump into the stream without being treated. And this is dangerous for not only humans but also for the wildlife that is here. And since Atlanta's growth has typically outpaced the infrastructure development, this is one of the reasons that this is occurring. So our main source of water doesn't come from Peachtree Creek right now, it comes from Lake Lanier, which is north of Atlanta, and pretty much provides the water for the entire area of Atlanta and metropolitan area. Built in the summer of 2008, this is our new suspension bridge in Emory's Lullwater Park, and it connects the main part of Lullwater, and we also want to say Emory's campus, to the VA hospital campus. And it's a really great connection because the VA hospital employees can walk over here, enjoy green space, and also go on campus maybe for lunch at Emory or vice versa. So this bridge was built. It spans it spans Peachtree Creek. It's 210 feet long, and we had this mindset or idea at Emory to keep the bridge from disturbing the wildlife in Lullwater. The ends of the bridge are the only parts that are touching the ground, and these are anchored on both sides of the bridge. And we also have some smaller wire anchors that are attached to the ground as well. But besides those 4 points, nothing else of the bridge touches Lullwater or disturbs its nature. Behind me is the Lullwater house, and this is where Walter Candler lived after he bought the property. He built this house. And Walter Candler was son of Asa Candler, the Coca-Cola founder, and Walter had two other brothers. One of them lived in and built the Collinwald house off of, I believe it's Briarcliff. It's off of Briarcliff. And then there's also another mansion on Briarcliff that was built by their other brother, although now that mansion is owned by Emory but in disrepair.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.